We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
Oh yeah, dude. There's some Nephilim shit.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit what happened to the home of the brave. These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us try to be slaves. And everybody's just walking around, head in the clouds, and won't awaken to a dead in the grave. By then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end of days. Everybody is slaves, only some are aware that the government releasing poison.
Welcome back to another episode of Nephilim Death Squad, the show where we hunt down and expose Nephilim shit. I am David Lee Corbo, a.k.a. The Raven. That's Top Lobsta. And today's guest is the great Shane Cashman.
Every episode,
What's
I listen
good?
to listen to Vinny Paz, and I just get hype. I'm just like, I was ready to go. Once I seen Shane, I was like, the homie's here, and we're going to go crazy. But then Vinny Paz plays, it brings it to another level, man. Shane, thank you for joining us.
Yo, it's great to be here. Thank you guys for having me, man.
Of course. Shane, before we jump into it, you want to let everybody know, not that you need much of an introduction, but where they could find your work and a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, you can find me at Shane Cashman everywhere online, except for TikTok because of Alex Jones. There's like a tripwire on TikTok where the second they hear his voice, they just zap you off the platform. But I hate TikTok, so I'm not so mad about it. And I write for timcast.com. I write a lot of different profiles. I write about ghosts, aliens, a bunch of Nephilim shit, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, he's playing to our soft side already. He's like, he's
Yeah.
hopping into the Nephilim shit. I'm like, I'm ready to
It's the Panderverse, baby.
Yeah. So wait, TikTok really has, they have something that they'll just zap you for anything like that sounds like Alex Jones?
I guess it was like the instant I put up like 2 videos of me and him talking when I did InfoWars, and it was immediately gone. They were like, yeah, peace out. And I was like, oh, wow, that was it. There's a lot of depraved stuff on TikTok, as I'm sure we all know. But for whatever reason, Alex's voice did it. And he said nothing controversial. The one clip I put up was me wishing Kanye West a happy birthday because it was his birthday when I did InfoWars. And that was it. You know, that Alex only said like hello or something. So I don't know. Maybe it's me. I highly doubt it. I think it was Alex's voice.
You would think that China would have like a vested interest in allowing the voice of Alex Jones to just cause chaos and fracture the country every which way. I think they're missing real estate there. Like that's money left on the table. They should be allowing, if anywhere, they should be allowing Alex on TikTok to disseminate just chaos across America. So
if they really want to fracture reality, just let the man go wild on TikTok.
Yeah,
but they don't. He hates the CCP too much. I think they have too much pride to let him bash them so openly on TikTok.
That is
maybe that's what it is.
Like a fatal flaw in their design.
Yeah.
They're spending so much money to do other small things. They're like buy their farmland and shit like that. It's like, dude, just let us see everything, and then man, America will crumble by itself.
It's that easy. It's happening before our eyes right now.
I've been wondering about this whole, X being like the platform for free speech, and yet like we have David Icke, right? Who's I would say on the same wavelength as far as how long he's been in the game of conspiracy theories, and the messaging is very similar, although Icke takes much more of a backseat when it comes to politics. But we have no Alex Jones, and I'm going, is this free speech or not? Is this America or not?
Well, it kind of connects back to what we were just saying about the CCP and pride. You know, Elon's definitely changed Twitter in many ways, but there's still a pride thing there when it comes to his personal feelings towards someone like Alex and any other person that's been kicked off and not allowed back. You know, we know how he feels about Alex Jones. He's been fairly open about his interpretation of Alex's situation in terms of Sandy Hook, which doesn't allow him to like bring him back. I personally would love Alex to be on all these platforms, let everyone decide whether they like him or not. And, especially going into 2024, can you imagine having Alex Jones and Tucker on Twitter going hard against everything, and then leave it up to us to say who we like, what we don't like, but Elon and his team, they just don't like, they think he's genuinely awful. they define awful very different than we might define awful, you know?
He's awful. He's
So
awful. Awful.
he's
Like that
awful.
kind of awful. Yeah.
Yeah. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I think Elon and Alex have more in common than Elon would like to believe. They both care about people in charge who are for population control. They both hate Paul Ehrlich, who's the guy who's for decades been talking about cutting down the family in this country. They both openly said they think he's the number one enemy in this country. So I'm like, yo, there's a chance there for you guys to come together and get along and talk about these problems that are vastly more important than all the little bullshit we talk about in terms of politics. That's fleeting stuff. This population control stuff has been going on for decades. And Paul Ehrlich is the architect of a lot of that stuff. So at some point, I'd love to see that happen. But
I just realized,
for now, it's not happening.
Shane, you're a unique dude, obviously, but you're in a very unique position where you're friends with Kanye, you're friends with Alex, and I see you all the time. You're like, Mr. Musk, I'd love to get this interview, and it's like he should do this fucking interview. Like, what are you doing with this AI system? What are you doing with Neuralink? What are you doing? I would love to see the questions you asked him, and honestly, it's probably why he'll never talk to you. But
didn't he just come out with
Didn't
he just come out with an AI that's modeled after his personality? Am I butchering that entirely?
What is Krog?
It's Gronk. I don't know what that is, but it's his version. It would make sense that it's modeled after his personality, but I don't know about that part. But what's interesting to me in terms of that, me wanting to question him, is like we have a bunch of mutual friends through Twitter, and some of those friends have been receptive to my public asking of Elon for an interview and have reached out. And they never come to fruition. And my personal feelings are like maybe he doesn't like my stance on Alex Jones, right? I've been fairly public about that. There was a lot of it on Twitter. It was my pinned tweet for a while. So maybe he's like, I don't want to talk to a guy who's favorable to someone like Alex Jones and Kanye. But him and Kanye might be working it out. Who knows? But
here's the thing, too. Like,
yeah.
So that I've been getting into, well, not anymore, but about 6 months ago, I was really into the psychology of what makes Elon Musk tick, right? Because now you're kind of putting things together, like why this and not this and why this and not that. Well, I did that tweet. You guys remember, Adrenochrome or the Jays, which way Western win? And Elon Musk likes it and then comments on it. So right now the question is, you should really do some thinking about this yourself, because if you're trying to get his attention, you've got to understand why. And I still don't understand. You saw a picture of Mel Gibson, you saw a picture of Biden, and you decided to say that Mel Gibson is looking buff these days. What's going on in your brain? What is this? What does it mean?
I think for him, he probably saw that you guys also have some mutuals, and he was like, "Oh, just interact with this." And then he saw, like,
he saw the ABL reports.
He understood the bigger meaning, and he probably dipped out of it. So I think that's his thing. Is maybe he doesn't. He shoots from the hip a lot, and when it comes to Neuralink, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. If you've seen something different, I have yet to see an interview that's really in depth with someone who's really like curious and also skeptical of the Neuralink. Whenever it comes up with him in interviews, he kind of laughs off when people bring up the deeper consequences that are deeper into the future. Not just will people be able to walk again and see again. Okay, that's a really complex issue. I understand the beauty in it. But beyond that, when we start talking about uploading your consciousness into the computer, and I have to deal with my kids doing that in 20, 30 years, who knows, right? Kurzweil would like it to happen now. I want to know about that. I want to know what he thinks about that. I want to know what he thinks about regulation and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. He might just not have seen it yet. I don't think that's true, but maybe that's the case. I would love to hear him talk about it. It doesn't have to be with me. I just am really, really curious about the Neuralink and what that means, especially now that the FDA has approved human trials. And I'm just like, we're all sitting back like, oh, it's Elon. I'm like, all right, I get it. It's Elon. Who wants to colonize Mars and all this stuff. But this is, he built a literal robot to do the surgery in your brain to implant a microchip that could do things such as fixing seizures. It could give you sight back, but it could also get you hijacked. You get hacked in your brain if you upload your consciousness at some point, which people will be like, it'll never happen. I'm like, bro, anything's possible. We'll look at the future. Look what we're dealing with right now.
It's so much
Anything's
more
possible.
nefarious. It's so much worse than that. Like
Yes.
the thing you shared today with Kathy Hochul talking about going to like
Yeah.
people that are just putting up random posts online. If you're in New York
Mm-hmm.
City, they're talking about
Yep.
arresting you or at least fining you. I don't know exactly what she said as far as punishment, but now imagine this in your brain. You can't even
Yep.
first off, I have no control from what my brain goes to and my finger types. Literally, it's like just
It's a direct
vomit.
line.
There is no
As
but
it should
most
be.
people do, as it should be. Yeah, most people do. All my crimes are out on the open. They're on Twitter already, so they can just. That's my brain. But that's a scary thought that you compare
Yeah.
those two things and just arrest people for thinking something one day. It's the
It's-
ultimate form of whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Crime.
It's literal thought crime. You could
Yeah.
literally think something, and then it's like, well, who defines the crime? Who defines what hate is? Who's out there saying this is hateful? Like when Linda and Elon say lawful but not awful. What's awful? We have a very different bandwidth for awful, right?
Oh yes, I do.
Quite different, and they can't weaponize that against us. So yeah, if the Neuralink into the future, who knows how far into the future, a lot of people have it because you'll feel left out in that society without having it, like it is for smartphones today. And you have these things. What's not to say that something will come across their screen being like, oh, Top just thought something about Nephilim, ding him, turn off his fridge, turn off his car, tell his boss all these things.
Lock him out
That
of
is
his
dark.
house.
And they're doing that kind of stuff already.
Right.
Remember in the summer they were turning up people's air conditioning, or that guy got locked out of his fridge or something because of
Yeah.
Amazon. So it sounds crazy to some people, but I'm like, it's really not that far away. So I don't know why we sound crazy for saying it.
I got something that sounds really crazy. I had a guest on one of my other shows, the Ravens Watch. His name was Drew, and he goes by Drew Tang on X, and he had a really interesting theory about. Are you familiar with the concept of predictive programming through Hollywood? This
Yeah,
idea
of
that they'll
course.
kind of revelation of the method. They'll show you a thing before they roll it out. I don't know what
Yep.
it's for. Either it's it frees them up karmically, or they're programming you and getting you ready for something. But
Probably
he went into this really compelling theory about how Iron Man, the archetype for Iron Man, is actually modeled after Elon Musk. And so Robert Downey Jr. actually said in an interview that he modeled Tony after Elon Musk. In Iron Man 2, there's this moment where he comes out at the Stark Expo Center, right? Or the Expo show, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he lands on stage in classic
Yep.
Iron Man fashion. And in the background, the X in Expo is giant and highlighted, and it's a different color. No. And he does his piece, and he steps off stage. And the very first person that he speaks to, apparently, according to Drew, is Elon Musk, who makes a cameo in the film. And so then you have Tony. His entire arc is about fighting this depopulation agenda, right? In the form of Thanos, who's going to snap his fingers and wipe away half of the population. And who is Musk vehemently opposed to in the real world is Bill Gates, what's his name, of the World Economic Forum. These are people that he is in opposition to. And now, all of a sudden, he's coming out with this AI that potentially, we don't know, might be modeled after his own personality, which is the plot line of one of the other Avengers films, where it's like Tony creates Ultron, and Ultron is an AI that is...
Did that?
Yep.
Dude, so you see where I'm going with this, right? I don't necessarily buy into this theory 100%, but it is very strange that we're allowing this man to, one, social engineer on the highest scale, right? Twitter X, the most successful social media platform by and large, right? It's head and shoulders above all the other competition. So if you were to consider for a moment that social media is in the game of social engineering, well, then Twitter X is doing the best job at that in comparison to these other things. So we have this guy who is engineering culture in a massive way, and now he is gearing up to put a neuralink in the minds of human beings, which I would be upset if it didn't come with an onboard AI, and that onboard AI is going to be modeled after him.
Yep. And
he has like 1 million kids. He just wants to have more kids. He just wants all of us to be his kids. Oh my God.
And like Stark puts the stone in his chest, I think Elon has the Neuralink already.
Oh, he does.
I think
100%.
I think if you watch certain interviews with him, I think it was Bill Maher where it really started to notice it, or maybe the Tucker Carlson one. I can't remember which one. And it could just be his autism, because he says he's on a spectrum. So maybe it's that. I
Very
personally
obvious.
think I personally think he's got Neuralink, and like you see him pause sometimes, and it's almost like his eyes are scanning for the perfect, most relatable answer that's also somewhat funny to kind of gain our to be endearing to us. I'm also maybe partly schizophrenic, so who knows? You know, who
Me too.
fucking knows?
No,
Wait, so,
And
you're
I,
so
right.
you
check
know,
this out though.
There is like a
This actually
processing
rolls.
to him, right? When he does
Oh
think, he's
yeah.
like,
yes,
well, and then
I
he
think
answers
so.
you. On the latest Joe Rogan, there was such a pregnant pause where if I was Joe, I would have been like, anyway, but Joe's an expert at what he does, so he let him
It's
Yeah.
fucking
uncomfortable.
cook.
But I
Yeah,
will say though, there are people who operate on crazy levels that do that. Like Kanye does do that too. He did it in the Rogan interview. He did it with me. Where like they pause, and maybe he's just searching for that perfect answer. I don't think Kanye has a Neuralink. I think Kanye is very anti-Neuralink. I don't know for sure, but I think sometimes that is, you know, for the to make the argument against what I was saying is that maybe he's searching for that right answer. I just find it hard to believe with Elon because I think he really does believe in his technology, which is dope. You know, it's crazy that he's a wild genius, wild inventor man. And I wouldn't put it past him to be such a believer of his technology to put it in his own brain to take it for a test drive before the FDA gave him approval, right?
oh,
So
I'd do
who
it
knows?
100%. I mean, if it's your thing, like I'm trying it first, of
If
course.
it's your thing, I would never make the Neuralink if I was that smart because I think it's demonic and I think it's
Yeah,
anti-human and I think it's totally wrong. Although I think it's got a lot of beautiful things it can do for people who are like wounded vets or whatever. But it just the consequences into the deep future are so overwhelming. It's like once you create it, you never stop it. Like AI, you know, it's
here's
just gonna get
here's a
crazier.
theory. They someone brought up a couple episodes ago. I'm sorry, I'm gonna let Dave was gonna go on his
No, go
thing,
ahead.
but
Go ahead. Go ahead.
so a couple episodes ago, they brought up the idea of Nikola Tesla and even David Icke channeling ancient
Atlanteans.
Atlantean gods
Right.
to
Or
get their
people that died, yeah, ascended masters from Atlantis, and that's
yeah
how
Right.
David Icke gets his information.
yeah.
Yep.
And but I mean, listen, if you're talking about the modern day Tesla, it's got to be Elon Musk. Even though he's not doing as great of things as Tesla was doing, he's just like the top of the line.
Yeah.
Who's he talking to? And is it like a karmic thing? Like if the let's say the Nephilim were trying to bring back themselves into a consciousness that will then take physical form because they can't have bodies here, only spiritual bodies in the realm beyond ours, like the mushroom realm and all that, and they have to get back in this realm. But they can talk to you, and they can talk
Right.
to people like Tesla and Elon Musk. Wouldn't they be trying to get you to make something? Like who the
Right.
fuck is Elon Musk talking to? I'd love
Maybe
to know.
what if he's talking to advanced AI that they created so long ago, but we don't know about, and so he's getting some like regurgitated information, like a collage of information, like Chat GPT would give you, but it's so advanced. It's like he's talking to someone, but it's really like he's talking to all his favorite inventors, but it's AI versions of them, which I wouldn't trust because I think that's soulless, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's not on a Tesla level because Tesla was talking to some type of organic being, perhaps, right? Which is also funny you bring up the Tesla thing because I think Trump and that Tesla connection is more interesting than a lot of people let on, right? That his uncle collected all the Tesla stuff
Yes.
afterwards. Like,
Hmm?
I think Trump very well could have some type of information from the future. I think, but I
Those
want to say
books, right?
that.
The Ingersoll Lockwood books.
Yeah, I want to say it, but it's like he does fuck up so much. He still
The whole
fucks up.
thing.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
I have
Yeah.
it right here.
That's so cool, dude.
And maybe he fucks up to make us think he doesn't have that access, you know, which is where my
Yeah.
schizophrenic brain comes in. But who knows, you know, who knows?
These motherfuckers are playing 5D chess. Look,
Yeah,
all of this is coming to a head, right? It's all pointing
yeah,
towards transhumanism. And I've been thinking a lot, especially because I've been catching your conversations on Timcast. You guys will go back and forth quite a bit about this idea of adult adolescence, right?
yeah.
And whether or not the future generations will even be sustainable, or if we're going to keep catering society towards, millennials, for example, because we were the last ones that boomers had a lot of kids, and we're not having a lot of kids. I have one myself, and we're kind of the one and done camp. But there's this question about whether or not the next generation is even going to be sustainable, or if you're even going to want to target that audience as, let's say, a corporation who's selling a product. So you're going to start
Mhm.
gearing all of your advertisements towards basically us, right? And I started thinking about this weird, like I was saying, this adult adolescence epidemic that we're finding ourselves in. And I realized that one of the big key components to perpetuating that kind of culture is the media, is Hollywood, is the music industry. Hollywood in particular, when you were, let's say, 50 years ago, right? They made entertainment for you when you were a child. And let's go even further back, 70 years ago. When you were a kid, the industry was aimed at you. They made cartoons for you and all that other crap, right? And then as you got older, you aged out of that stuff, and they no longer aimed at you. They aimed at the next generation of children. But all of a sudden, something happened around the 80s and 90s where like the industry
Like they're not doing
realized
it anymore.
continuously aim at us as we get older. Keep giving us the same shit, right? Keep giving us remakes of all of our entertainment from when we were kids. Keep giving us remakes of our favorite movies, our favorite shows, our favorite cartoons, whatever it is. You no longer have to come to terms with, I think there was a benefit in getting that feeling that society was forgetting about you. Society's moving on from you. It's time for you to age gracefully and go into the next season of life.
Well,
we don't have to go into the next season of life because culture is continuously aiming at us. We're always going to walk around with graphic tees because they're always going to make them for us. We're always going to see a new Ninja Turtle movies in theaters because they're always going to make it for us. They just recycle our culture over and over again and keep the propaganda machine aimed at us so that we never feel compelled to age gracefully. We never feel compelled to go into the next season.
David, they haven't had psyops. They haven't had psyops this intense on our generation, on our age group, at least in, I don't even know, probably since before our lifetimes, before Christ, at least. Who knows what they were doing before, like with way advanced technology, but they're aiming at us like this for a reason. Like we have to pull off COVID. It's like, okay, like you said, give them fucking 3 more Ninja Turtles. Bring it back for them. They're 30. It's like something about that allows the next thing that we're going to do to you, and we have to do it by a certain time, like the 2030 thing or whatever they're saying.
But I don't think that's just to distract us. I think it's to make us fear death. That's my whole theory, is like we're afraid to go not only into the next season of life and age gracefully, but we're probably more afraid of death than any prior generation before us, right? And all of a sudden, as we reach the finish line, Elon Musk is going to dangle the keys to some form of transhumanism, something like that, and we're going to clamor for it because we've not even been able to become, parents gracefully, or certainly not grandparents when that time comes. And I think that when the time comes to die to die gracefully, we're going to be more afraid than any other culture or any other generation before us, and we're going to leap into transhumanism because we've never taught.
Go ahead, Shane.
I think you're right about the fear of death, but I also think this society has made a lot of people forget death even happens, right? And what you're talking about with like this generational thing going on, and the way advertisement used to move on, internet has like flattened all of us and all of our generations, and so we're like this infinite nothing age, right? But young. They want to keep us young. There's obviously things where like I'm 38. The 90s register with me in a big way, and we have that to point to as like a thing that defines my generation. But that could be for anybody now born at any age, because the internet is like a time travel machine where you can go experience any decade. I can go see Pantera play Moscow in the 80s, and it's like I'm there, right? And that you can get that for any experience now. And I think that flattening of society also is to make, like you're saying, these adult adolescents, and that goes into I think how you started this. No kids, right? Because if you grow up and you don't have kids, you're this adult, childless adult. You don't really have that extra responsibility of like you're sacrificing yourself for your own offspring, for the next generation. And so you're constantly just moving forward like a child with like sort of like faux adult responsibilities, but you're still looking forward to the next Ninja Turtles movies because you're addicted to the drug of nostalgia, and that just keeps you hooked up to whatever bullshit they want you hooked up to keep you distracted, to keep you a kid, to lower the population perhaps, all these things. And but I also think on the positive side, there's a lot of people like our age who still believe in having children and progressing in that way, in a good way, the good word of progress, not the false bad word of progress, like actual progressing into the future with your offspring and continuing that. Because I see a lot of people out, like I'm in the rural areas of West Virginia, and it's like, to me, it feels like the 90s. I see a lot of people who just we're living life still. We want to have families. We go to church. You know, we understand that the world is dark and there's sinister things happening, but we're focused on community and children, and kind of that's like the rebellion against this bullshit we're talking about, like this flattened society.
That's where I live. Same thing. But
Hell
the
yeah.
thought keeps coming across my head, like as you guys are saying this stuff, because I firmly believe it, and this is I've been thinking it for a while. But it's like we're the generation that's going to have to deal with it. You know, my parents, my mom's been talking about the mark of the beast for the longest time. You know,
right?
Whether it be a chip in your hand or in your brain, but you can't buy or sell. I mean, this is very close to this, and it's something that people with children specifically are going to have to deal with, because the people without, the ones without the responsibility, the ones I'm going to live fast, I'm going to live forever, this kind of shit, they're going to be the first ones to take this stuff. So like us, which is, it's a fucking scary thought, because there's not as many as there needs to be. And I'm not saying like an outright battle, but like we're just going to have to be like, who knows what happens to just the job market. Everybody gets chipped.
Yeah, I think, well, it's kind of like go back in terms of mark of the beast, and in terms of people accepting the mark of the beast. Look at COVID. Look what lockdowns did. It accelerated people who would accept that bullshit. And it also accelerated the people who were more than okay to let their digital identities become their actual identities, right? How many people went online? How many people went to funerals through Zoom? Zoom and Instagram and Twitter became everyone's full-on identity, whereas the physical world just fell away for a lot of those people who were so fearful of death, like what you were saying just a little bit ago, right? And if you're so online, you forget about death. There is no death. You live forever, which then ties in to Neuralink, where you can live forever. Oh my goodness, let's plug in. You know, we could always be like this. We could always do, but maybe one positive thing is, you know, like in COVID, we saw society completely fracture. There was those of us who said, fuck that. We went and lived our lives. We had kids. We did our thing. And there was the other ones, like I just said, who uploaded their consciousness or their identities into the internet. And that was it. And they were happy with that. So maybe in the future, as this keeps going and this keeps fracturing, they'll just stay on the internet and they'll live there, you know, they'll live the remainder of their days out. They'll have fake kids. They'll have their fake wife, whatever. And then they'll just go away. It's kind of like they're just
the metaverse
killing themselves, right? They'll just die, and then if they die and they upload their consciousness will just be a feedback loop on the metaverse, and who gives a shit? You know, so you can go in and look at it and be like, wow.
Then Elon Musk is actually
Black Mirror as fuck.
He's not pro population. He might be even worse than the Bill Gates, because this is what he's creating.
I know. Bill Gates, he says otherwise.
Saying one thing,
right?
Exactly.
Bill Gates
says otherwise.
He's like, we got to get rid of 1/4 of you guys on Earth and Elon Musk is like 75% easily with this AI.
So imagine that future. Imagine that future where Bill Gates and Elon both get what they want, and it's a sun that's been completely blocked out with a planet that's being swarmed by robot mosquitoes, and then everyone's plugged into the metaverse. How far away is that?
It's literally the Matrix.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is the Matrix.
It's insane.
See, that part of that what we just described is never really attributed to the movie The Matrix. Most people
but that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, but I mean, like the actual dark sky, like they fucking nailed it. With Again, more predictive programming. Probably. God damn, exactly. Man, this is a bad episode. I don't like this.
No, it's not. It's a good, dude. I do want to ask you both though. There's something that really gets me upset, and maybe I'm irrationally upset about this. Maybe you guys will see this and go, I don't think that's worth being upset about. But it's this thing, like, I'll go to pick up my son after school, and I'll stand there with all the other parents who are waiting for, they call them the walkers, you know, we'll wait for the kids to come walking up. And the amount of adults that show up in pajamas and they have like Ninja Turtle pajamas on, and they've got, you know, like oversized graphic tees on, and they come out of their house often in their slippers. Like I love a good, I'm sure there's some shit in my closet that's kind of goofy like that. My sneaker collection for a while, I went hard. I've got all gold Air Maxes. I've got all kinds of, and I love those damn things. I have a pretty cool sneaker collection. I don't even want to fucking touch it these days. I got like brown dad shoes, like leather kind of shoes, and like a boot, and that's like the kind of shit that I wear. And I feel like, I don't know, man. I go out and I especially you take a stroll around Walmart, And that'll make you want to bleach your eyeballs because it's nothing but like that's the epicenter of adult adolescence. That's like where you go and they're selling all the Ninja Turtle graphic tees that are in the adult section. Do you guys like are you bothered by that shit when you see it? Because I'm bothered by it.
You know
Yes, it's disgusting.
Consciously, I'm not like a big fashion freak, but consciously I have been like I'll put on like a nice pair of jeans and I'll wear like I always got one of the tees that I made. So I'll wear it. But I try to like match it with the shoes, like to look presentable. But you're right, man. There's so many people, and it is increasing. I worked in an elementary school, so I've seen it. They just like the lack of care, and then this is the generation we're talking about too, right? The nostalgia generation. It's just like they don't give a fuck anymore. They're beat.
24/7 pajamas. No, my dad used to talk shit on me and my sisters. We would never do it. He would say, "You never go outside in your sweatpants." You know, so I just grew up like that, you know, and I'm not the one to wear a suit. I have worn suits many times for different occasions, but I typically these days, I like to wear a nice button up shirt. I tuck it in, I wear slacks, and I have the same pair of Doc Martens I wear every fucking day. And that's just it. And I want to be somewhat presentable, but in my own way, you know, I'm not going to go crazy in a suit, but I just feel good wearing that. And it looks like I want my son and my daughter to look up and be like, oh, mommy and daddy are presentable. They're not a fucking like a mess, schlub out there in the world. Not a big kid. You know, there's a difference, right? We're adults. We have responsibilities. We're your authority figures. You know, as much as I want my kids to also grow up to be anti-authority, I need them to respect me too. And this weird line you got to walk by making them understand that the different thing there.
The psychology of that is psychotic because it goes back for so long. Because at some point, you know what? You just convinced me. I'm going to just buy button-up shirts now. Because at some point, my dad, like, and you know, probably his dad, they just took off the t-shirt and they're like, we got to have at least 3 buttons on this shit. If they, it's like something.
I think 3-button rule, dude.
Yo, I think dressing like that makes your deviousness as someone who wants to subvert society even better. Because it's like aesthetically, people who are not connected to this world at all will look at you a certain way, and then I can just and you fucking subvert them somehow by just like tricking them aesthetically. Not that I you know, I got a lot of tattoos and shit, and so I look a certain way already to certain people, but I like looking at least more presentable than a lot of people at Walmart. And for various reasons though. I also just like, you know, I have the same fucking type of shirt, the same type of pants, the same boots. It's very easy.
All black. Shane,
it's mostly black.
you should have been cast as well, fuck that movie, but if they do decide to make a good movie of it, the Man in Black from the Dark Tower series. Oh yeah. It's like if you just had the hood on, I'd be like, that's the guy.
That'd be sick. That'd be sick. Oh man, poor Stephen King. What happened to him?
He has to keep selling his soul to make like, because I mean, what they did to the Dark Tower series was just awful. It's like,
dude, I didn't see it, but I think when Stephen King got hit by that van, they probably replaced him with a clone, and that's not the Stephen King we knew of back then. He looks like that was the end of him, and now we got the new one, you know, like the Katy Perry version. They're not very good clones. He looks like a cat that's been shaved, you know. There's something like feline about
Elon Musk gave him a blue check mark and won't redact it. Like he's continuously funding his blue check mark. And it's really weird too, because you see these characters that they pump their fists and they're like, I'm leaving this platform. This platform is filled with white supremacists and fucking homophobes and all this. And then they never go anywhere. And he's like king of those people, which is such a bummer because, you know, as far as his books and his films go, you know, especially back in the day, like he couldn't miss. He couldn't miss, and now he's fucking missing hard constantly. Yeah, culturally, it's you know, Hollywood-wise, he's just missing.
Yeah, I think he sees monsters and things that were from his books, and he puts them now on people that he just can't wrap his head around. Like Trump is like an it character to him, but he's so lost in his own fiction, he can't differentiate between that and the real world. And there's no getting him back. You know, he's completely lost. And it's sad because he's a great writer. He's someone I looked up to for a long time. It's just like on a technical level of like sentences. Great writer. Yeah, great stories, great ideas. Oh shit, I love that book. It's like having a friend talk to you when you're deeply in trouble with a story. You don't know what the fuck to do. It's like I go to that book. So I still will. But man, yeah, overall he's just a decaying version of his former self.
No,
I like
Shane,
the idea that
go ahead, Top.
I like the idea that it's not him. Like I could live with that idea. Where if he's
Yeah, I'm
a
telling
clone,
myself that. I have to tell
yeah.
myself that to be okay with it. That's
Like
me.
Steven wouldn't say that. He wouldn't tweet that.
No, I know Steven.
Shane, so one of the things that I'm most fond of that you do is the Inverted World series, and because that's right up our alley.
Hell yeah.
And I just always think that with everybody who puts one foot in the supernatural realm, who makes these things sort of their, in your particular case, you've made it your business in a lot of ways, right? There's always got to be something that brought that person to the table. I know myself, I've got a bunch of weird experiences. Do you have any like personal experiences, or was it just things that you saw or heard and wanted answers for that brought you to the table? I'd like to hear about what piqued your interest in the first place.
I'd also like to know, does Tim know that you're as crazy as you are? Because he probably knows.
Yes.
Not like fully crazy, because there's levels.
Oh yeah, Tim.
Okay.
We've hung out. There's many times, and I say crazy shit. He knows. Like, him and I we were in I forget where. I think we were in North Carolina, and went to go look at bears. And one bear finally came out, and I was like, "Yo, dude, that bear is fake. As a person in a bear suit." And like, I know he knows. Like, he's laughing, and I'm like, I wonder if he knows. Like, I'm also serious. Like, because I'm being serious, but I'm also being funny.
He's the type of dude that, like, I feel like he wouldn't let it fly. Like, just in casual conversation, he'd be like, "Well, actually, no."
For whatever reason, he lets me get away with it. You know, he does push back sometimes. Like on IRL a few times. I was on like maybe 3 times ago. I told him my theory about clouds. I said clouds are fake. You know, there's obviously vintage, and I'll get to the question in a minute. But I was like, there's obviously vintage clouds. There's those vintage clouds are real clouds. Okay, we can get around that. But then there's those vintage clouds are also turned into poisonous clouds because there's poison in all the water and they evaporate up into the sky, so they're raining poison on us. But then there's also fake clouds that are coming out of the chemtrails that expand, like the fake spider webs from Spirit Halloween, and they drop more poison on us. And he's like, "Well, I just think clouds are evaporation." I'm like, "Yes, that is the original clouds, but there's also like 2 other types of clouds
in categories." Dude.
So yes, there's
what you just said right there is not to me. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, yeah,
no, that's totally reasonable.
Yes. Yeah, it's very reasonable. Thank you. But yeah, no, he knows that this is how I am. It's been like this since day one, since the first day we met. I will not filter myself. I love it when he disagrees because it makes me question my own stance and I have to make it better or change it up if he's found a weak part in my argument. But yeah, he lets me go crazy, and I appreciate that. And in terms of me, and this is going to segue back into the question, I think I'm like that because I grew up all alone in the middle of a forest with no neighbors. You know, I had 2 little sisters,
fake bears.
Well,
fucking fake bears.
Perhaps fake coyotes, fake bears. See, okay, I was for whatever reason, not for whatever reason. This is actually for a reason. I grew up on a farm right outside of a military base in New York, in West Point. So that's the United States Military Academy, and the property I grew up on was owned by them, and it's like a giant 200 acres that my parents, who were harness racers, like they sat in a sulky and raced horses. When that business dried up,
very tiny.
They were itty bitty, like yeah. I'm the Nephilim to them, actually. Look at this fucking
size?
forehead.
You put them on your shoulders.
No, that you have to be a jockey when you're riding on the horse. This is when you're behind the horse in one of those buggies with the wheels.
Oh,
okay.
So they would, so that business died. Go figure. And
like nobody even knows what this shit is right now.
Yeah, right. And they got a job at this farm to coach a team. So we were put there when I was 1. And from literally like my earliest memories are being like, I think we're being experimented on. I don't know why I thought that, but I was like, I grew up literally at the base of a landfill, a capped landfill. So it was like a beautiful green hill, but just beneath the surface was a landfill, and it was capped. So like Yeah. So
Dude.
it had like it had. This is why my forehead
oblongs?
looks like this.
Yo, this is a
Yeah.
story. Wait, why haven't you
Oh, I
written
know.
this? Is a fiction novel of
I
a
know.
kid growing
I
up on
know.
a fucking UFO spot. This is
I know. I should. I've written about it for a long time, and no one's ever seen most of it. But I will at some point.
please
But
send
like
it to me.
we grew up like when it rained, red water would leak out of the landfill past my house. But yo, it sounds like dystopian, but it was like the most beautiful place. Like it's the country of New York
Most
above the
beautiful
Hudson
shade
River.
of red.
However, yes, it was like the landfill was bleeding, oozing chemical. But like from an early age, I was just like, I feel like I would tell my parents this. I said, I think there's people in the landfill watching us, and I don't know. There might have been. I felt like we had been put there as like a nuclear family to see how the government could tweak us. So the forest then started to create a lot of weird things that might just be normal, bears or fake bears in the woods or who knows what. But that started to get my imagination really going because I didn't have a lot of friends. Another thing, shocking, but like also like being at a military base and me being the only civilian, everyone I knew would move every 3 to 4 years. So it's kind of like constantly alone and making new friends, and then
Shane,
they leave, and that was it.
You realize that you're like what you just described to us. Sometimes I think about you and I say like, how did he get to where? Not like in your career, but like how do you get there mentally? Because you're doing something different than most people. And it's like you're telling me a story. I'm like, yep, exactly that.
There it
Drinking
is.
that
There
red
it is.
water.
If I would have made it up, like you would have said, "Oh, that's fucking crazy to say that you just made that up." But exactly what I thought.
Yeah,
Have you
it's
listened?
crazy, dude.
You listened to the latest episodes of Tony Merkel show? He's had a couple of people on.
I haven't. No.
Okay, he's been big on. He loves Dogman, right? Always big on Dogman.
Of course. Yeah.
He's getting into the why are there so many cryptid sightings or things like that next to government bases? Are they?
I'm so glad you said that.
And because you're talking about fake bears by your house, right outside of a government base, is like maybe.
So I was thinking of fake bears because really what I was thinking before that was Harry and the Hendersons and Sasquatch, like Bigfoot, right? And that image of Harry, even though it was like a lighthearted movie or TV show, were both
Horrifying.
It horrified me, right? And I had a lot of chores. And we had a dumpster because they never came for our garbage.
Wood, go fetch red water.
So I had to walk into the woods at night to throw away the garbage, and I was like, at any minute, Sasquatch was gonna hop out of these trees, and that's it. I'm done. He's gonna take me away.
Dude,
so all those things.
Let me just say, every day I let my chickens in, I gotta go back that way because they're like in the back and it's dark.
Right.
And I'm out there with a flashlight, and I always shine the back of my property because like the back of it is like nothing. And I was like, I'm gonna see a fucking dog man here one day, and I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You might.
Or a skunky out here in Florida. That's the thing, skunky.
Ooh.
But it's the tension is palpable. I understand what you're saying. You're walking into the darkness, and as a kid, it's probably worse. But like for me, I'm like, it's all right. But I'm like looking.
As a kid, all alone with a crazy schizophrenic imagination, the forest became a character, and that's where all of these things started for me. I would be thinking about. I also was watching like Unsolved Mysteries. Right. And Robert Stack's voice would freak the shit out of me alone, just his voice. Right. So then I'd apply that into the woods, and the woods just seemed to be populated with a lot of like monsters that I couldn't see, but I felt like I knew were there. And also real things that I knew were dangerous, like coyotes and wolves, because as a farm, we had ducks and a petting zoo for people. And I had to wake up and see those things they were ripped to shreds the night before by the hungry coyotes. And I had to clean up blood and feathers and all this stuff. And I was introduced to death at a very young age because animals die. And this is before we even had like a backhoe. We had to dig graves ourselves for the horses. So like I had a weird
digging graves.
Me as like a 2-year-old be like, oh, here we go again.
I know you've tried to like
shovel,
probably Shane, you've probably explained this away as like you're saying unsolved mysteries and seeing the death of animals, but there has to be a part of you that goes, that is a very specific suspicion for a child to have, is that you're being experimented on. And I'm sure it wasn't that well thought out, but it was this feeling of like, something else is going on, or that you're a part of something. That's a very strange thing for a kid to lock
Yeah,
onto.
I joke about it a lot on different shows or in conversation where I say like I've always been paranoid, but like literally it's not a joke. I've literally always been paranoid. Whether it's about me and like just how flawed a human is and like disease, like I was afraid of disease as a little kid. Not like I was OCD about it, but I was just like I'm gonna go at any minute. Some crazy disease is gonna take me over. And I would make my mom take me to the doctor and he'd be like, that's not cancer, that's just a lymph node. You're gonna be all right. Like I just had like weird things like, and then also, but about like authorities, at a very young age, when my mom told me what a social security card was, I literally cried to her because I was like, why do they have a number for me? I think that really bothered me. So I don't know what happened.
It's sensible. It's
who
super
knows?
sensible. Like
Yeah, I think so.
Grown adults don't feel that way, but honestly, when you explain it that way, I do now. I kind of feel sad.
Right. Yeah, it was.
Jesus.
It really, really
It's almost
bothered
like
me.
what you were experiencing wasn't so much uh you know being hyperbolic, but more so the inability to just gloss over a thing and keep it moving. You know what I mean? Like I think that
Yeah.
there's a lot of that in society where it's like, I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? And you could certainly call me paranoid, and my brain goes to all these different places. But
Yeah.
the fundamental reason that my brain goes to all these places is because I'm just trying to make sense of things that otherwise don't make sense. And everybody else seems really good at just going, it
You know
is what it
though?
is.
Yeah.
And I'm not satisfied with that.
People from
Totally.
the country, not all, but they all have this. They don't all think this way, but they all have this inquisitive nature about them. Like where if you actually sit down, they want to paint. Since I've been moving here, I mean it's like deep country accent. Some of these people, they're using phrases and shit that I'm not familiar with. But when you, yeah, we're gonna go yawn down there over there, and I'm talking with them, but they all have this inquisitive nature of asking. From the city where I was at, it's like nobody was asking. No one was even exactly. I don't know how the fuck I got this mindset, but I think it's something to do with like maybe like the rays that they're fucking shining down to control your mind. It's only can go on the city. And
I think
reach out there.
I think yeah, that's totally true. And I think for me, I'm thinking about this more like why the paranoia or me seeing beyond the facade of reality happened so early on is probably I'm gonna try to psychoanalyze myself. I was alone in the woods. I was the only person at school who lived in the woods. And I would go every day to school and be confronted with people who lived in like a separate reality, right? So and then every day I'm coming home. And it's not just that, it's like I'm civilian, they're military. I'm digging horse graves on the weekend and riding horses. They're playing Ninja Turtles, and stuff, which I wish I could have done, but I just didn't have that life, right? And I was fairly poor growing up. I didn't have internet until I was in college. I didn't have TV with a lot of channels, but then my friends had all that. I didn't have air conditioning. They did, So it's like a lot of things where like every day I'm confronted with like the difference between me and them and the world they're going through and the world I'm going through. And then on top of that, to make things even weirder, since the property was owned by the military academy, every summer since I was one, helicopters would land in my yard and the soldiers would jump out.
Shit, that's jarring.
Real casually.
So soldiers would jump out and then play a simulated war all summer long in my yard, in my woods that I knew very well. So like that's why whenever I talk about my idea of the simulation, it's probably born from them watching adults with guns, but playing like basically laser tag, but with like bombs that are exploding all summer long. And then I would be in those wars. I'd go watch them. So it's like I'm experiencing a lot of fake shit that's also very real amongst all my own personal fake shit that's also real, depending on who I'm with. So
You know what's really
I'm
funny?
getting this
The
getting this image of Shane just standing on the edge of the forest, like there's explosions and gunfire, and he's just staring into the dark woods with a glass of red water, just fucking shaking.
So I would watch them land, and I would follow them secretly to their base that they would build in the woods. And then I knew that they were being trained. This is by the time I'm like 10 or 11 by older guys, the 10th Mountain Division. And I'd wait for the 10th Mountain guys to come, and I'd say, I know where they are, but I have to hold your grenade launcher, and I want to ride in the Humvee, and I want candy. And I swear to God, and this is what I would do all summer long. Oh, they loved it.
I fucking like this kid.
Yo, it was dope because I think it kind of mimics whatever they'd go do overseas with some poor kid,
Yeah.
Be like, oh, those
Except for
fuckers over there.
They'd shoot him right after, though.
Bomb him. Yeah.
You can actually understand this one.
Thanks
Like,
for the
he's
tip,
adorable.
kid. And they drop the drone. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah, when I turn around, actually to go back home, they simulate me shooting me. Like, yeah.
It's like mission complete. Wrap it up. I like the idea that Shane Cashman has like a government file of people studying him for 38 years now, and they're like, what happens to a kid if we do this to him? And then like at the very end of like this multi-million-dollar study, they're like, he ends up writing for Timcast or something. Like,
yeah.
You know why Kanye West?
They were trying to create a multiple personality disorder, and they just couldn't. He just became a writer. That was the outlet. It's like if you don't write the books, the other voices start going off. Shane, is there? So I want to ask you, in your family, is there any history of like that level of mental illness? The reason I ask is because I have people that are close to me that are actually
diagnosed.
actually diagnosed.
Shane, it bothers me. It bothers me when you say schizo, that you're schizophrenic. That is like, so we're gonna have on Jerry Marzinski soon, and you should check him out. He goes deep into like schizophrenia. I feel like it's one of those words that people use to like slur you. I don't think you're schizophrenic.
I should. Yeah, no, I should say I have I had very good friends who are schizophrenic, and to me they're the most beautiful like poets who are connected to a higher meaning and who just have a hard time with their messaging, right? Like I would follow around this one schizophrenic when I lived in this crazy town in my 20s, and him and I just became. I would say I was his friend. I don't know if every day was different for him, but he was saying things back then, and this is 15 years ago, that are resonating with me today. That made no sense to me then, right? It's probably how we feel when we talk about lizard people to someone, And maybe 10 years from now, it might finally click in their brains. But yeah, when I say schizo, I do mean it as like, it's kind of a beautiful thing. There is schizophrenia in my family. I have not been diagnosed, although I probably should have been diagnosed for other things mentally in terms of like crazy anxiety and paranoia. But I've been hopefully channeling it to some degree through my writing. But yeah, there's schizophrenia on part of my family. One of those guys has been in jail his whole life. I've actually never met him. He's been in jail he got out of jail once, and he's probably 60 now. He got in jail for like a lot of carjackings and stuff. When he got out the last time, he then held up his brother with a samurai sword. It was a big news. It was in Florida. That was probably late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, I know.
Florida man, his brother with samurai sword.
And then when my grandfather died, so this would be my like second cousin, I guess you'd say, or great cousin. He's my great aunt's son. But anyway, when my grandfather died, he broke out of his mental institution and that was in California, to try to come to the funeral. And he tried robbing a bank with a note that said, I'm going to kill the president of the United States if you don't give me money for like a bus ticket. But like, there's also varying types of schizophrenia. He was probably more of the violent kind. The ones I knew were not violent. They weren't a threat to anybody. They just sounded like a madman, like a prophet from the Bible, in my opinion. That's getting a type of information that makes no sense to the normal person out here. But I honestly learned a lot about language, reality, the government, what schizophrenia was in terms of what they were obsessed with, which was like power, sex, and war, and that's everything in this world that people like to deny, or death too. Most people like don't want to even talk about those things openly, but the schizophrenic, like the kind I knew, that's all they want to talk about. And it was like they had no filter, kind of like Top. Not saying it's schizo, but there is no filter. I think that's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I think that's probably the only thing diagnosed in my family. And there was a point between like my late teens and late 20s when schizophrenia does supposedly really pop up, where I'm like, oh, I do sound insane, but I never went to the doctor. I stopped going to real doctors and I started going to shamans a long time ago, and they were very nice to me. They didn't commit me anywhere. Thank God.
What kind of shamans are you going to? Because
like Capitol building shamans, or
no, my wife is a nurse, RN, registered nurse, worked in the hospital, and now she only sees like holistic doctors, or doctors like that. She doesn't fuck with any of them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say I don't fully divorce myself from Western medicine, because clearly there's some good there. But on a whole, I prefer like to try holistic methods before I go there. I don't take pills, right? I'm not trying to do that shit. So the shaman I saw, who's now deceased, rest in peace, Harry Abbey. He was in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He was a dude. I forget where in Africa, but he was like this African dude who but he wore just like slacks and a button-up shirt, and he pushed demons out of me that he said were in there for the first time. This is 20 years ago for the first visit. And I went there first to cure allergies that my doctor kept giving me pills for back then. This is before I knew any better. And they were doing nothing. I actually could feel like the nasal spray he was giving me like erode my esophagus or something. It was just like this chemical burn. I was like, this is fucking stupid. I'm not going to this guy anymore. And then my mom was like, I have a friend whose breast cancer was cured by a shaman. And I was like, well, if he could cure breast cancer, he could totally cure my allergies. Like, God, like that's easy. So I went to him. He did like some weird things. He like counted like something with my blood. He would listen to my heartbeat and count it, and then gave me this weird regimen. And I swear to you, my allergies were gone like before the end of that week. And so me and him had a great relationship after that. And there's a few other things I was going to him for, like my anxiety, which is better now, but I still have it. And he died before that treatment ended. So it's this weird thing. That's a whole other story. But yeah, I don't know what he would consider himself.
Treatment.
It's a crazy story, yeah. And he was a great, great guy. And but he also considered himself Christian. He was Christian, man. He sang in a choir, but he had this really thick accent, and he had a wall of herbs behind him. My wife, I brought her to him, and he was great. And now it's like I just believe if you want to find a shaman, it has to be word of mouth. Like honestly, when we did the QAnon shaman episode, I'm like, oh, maybe this is my new shaman because I'm like, because I need a new one because it's people who openly like advertise as shamans. I'm just like, I don't trust that either. I'm not going to go to some, lady in a fucking muumuu, in her basement who says she's a shaman.
Psychics, right? It's like I don't want a psychic that tells me they're a psychic. I want like that person that you always hear stories like they won't even accept money. Like you got to know them personally or know somebody that knows them personally.
Like they got to want
to
talk to you.
Yeah, they have to want to talk to you. Exactly. Like if I walk past a psychic and they don't go like, David, like that I don't want shit to do with you. If I walk by and I look at you and you don't fucking know what's going on, I don't want anything to do with you.
A psychic. There's like 1 in a million people and you're like, I just fucking got to walk around this whole city. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I was in New Orleans and it was just like that. I'm walking past like 100 fucking psychics and none of them called me out. So I was like, fuck you guys. I did end up going to one guy and he was pretty cool, but definitely none of them called me out. None of them said anything that was profound. Somebody in the chat actually just said that they mentioned my last episode, and the last episode that I did was with a guy named Sublime. He opened up a church in Alberta, Canada, and he told me this really interesting story about how medicine men get to be medicine men, and I wasn't aware of this. He was like, do you know how they come to be? And I was like, is it one of those things where you have to like betray somebody really close to you, a loved one? And that's actually skinwalker, and I think it's like betrayal on like a murderous level. But a medicine man, what happens is they actually go out like into the desert, and they walk for, I think it's 4 days. They starve themselves, they dehydrate themselves, and they call in spirits as they're walking around. And and they say like the first few days on the periphery, there are like shadows moving and you might hear some growls. That kind of activity gets to be more so and more so as the days go on. Right now you're experiencing sleep deprivation and all these different things. And eventually these entities will show themselves to you and you invite them in. And so I'm like, oh, so the fucking medicine men are possessed, is what you're saying. And I thought that was wild because it's like it's the inversion of Christ's temptation in the desert, where like Satan is offering him all these various things, and Christ's like, nah, bitch, I'm good, and he keeps it walking, and in the end, he overcomes Satan's temptation. And but in this aspect, if you want the powers of the medicine man, you mirror Christ's journey. But then in the end, you turn yourself over and allow the entity in. And I was like, holy shit, that's a wild thing. It always seems to be in these realms like this inversion of things, inverted world, right? And so
that's right. That's wild. I didn't know that.
And it's crazy. So it's like, I mean, this stuff is legitimate. It's just like, which side of the spectrum are they coming from with that? That's That could be a little tricky. But then again, it's like there's so many. I'm of the belief that there's not like one lowercase g God. There's like a lot, you know. So
Right.
they're walking through. Maybe they're just like looking for a suitor, like one of them that's like not completely evil. But how can you tell?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
the same rules as like the vampire, right? You have to invite them in, and I believe that too. There are a plethora of lowercase g's. But so you have these experiences, and it sounds like you really don't have to have more justification than that, living on this military base, being subjected to this high level sort of military exercises,
Yeah.
and I guess that does end up feeding into your paranoia. But by now you've developed this this body of work, and you've been subjected to a lot of people's stories. I just want to say for a second, I know you were with Alex, right? Like all last week. Top Alex, the dude that was just at Hillary Clinton's, where she's speaking on behalf, she's endorsing somebody for like a governor or something like that, and he stands up and he goes, "Why was your husband on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 26 times?"
This.
And then dude, it's the greatest thing because Alex is a beast of a man. He is absolutely massive. And what he does is he stands up and he goes, "Why was your husband on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet 26 times? Why?" And he's screaming. And, security mobs him. And he's not out to hurt anybody, but he is out to give them a hard time. So this dude, this mountain of a man, drops his body weight and just makes them drag him out of this fucking hole on his back.
I did see
They're
that.
tearing his shirt and all this shit. But one of the things that Alex does is he's out there doing God's work. He will entrap pedophiles. And then all of a sudden, when they sign up to meet up with some young girl or young boy or whatever,
the same guy. I saw
Yes.
him like busting
Fucking
pedophiles
Alex.
with him. You were taking
Yes.
pictures.
Dude,
Like, what's Shane doing?
Yes. Yo,
this is
look.
he's a hero.
Yo, that I think this is like the most important story, in my opinion, I've ever written. Like, I love Alex, and man, it's like I was like worried to have a conversation on a podcast because I haven't really been right since I've left him. Right, like, because I'm serious. You're just talking about like basically demon possession and like letting these entities in, and I'm literally 2-3 feet away from these pedophiles as we're capturing them, looking in their eyes as Alex is questioning them about these fucked up messages they've sent a girl they thought was 11 years old. Right? We did this like 3 times.
Dude, are you carrying or something? Because that can get real weird.
Will not. I'm not going to answer anyway, one way or the other. But I felt fine. Alex is also a giant dude, and he is very, very good at what he does. So the Clinton thing happened, but I've been watching his stuff for maybe like 6 months prior, and I'm like, there needs to be an army of Alexes out there just catching predators, right? So he sets up this whole operation to, like, he's got decoys, like a woman who poses as a girl. I saw a man literally walk away with someone he thought was 11 years old, right? And then we get that guy. We walk him into an empty field, and we fucking approach that guy and talk to him and question him and all this shit. And that guy shit himself in front of us. Legit.
Wow.
Yo. And like, okay, so we had 2 guys arrested. Like, the cops came and they got them. And while I'm standing there looking at them, I'm like, yo, these are demons. They're possessed. This is legit evil. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced. I'd never heard people talk the way they talk, and all the weird logical loopholes while also knowing they've done something wrong. So it's not like they're completely mentally ill and being like, well, this isn't wrong. I just love them. It's like they know societally, in every possible way, this is fucked up, and that they've been caught.
They have to.
They can't fucking help it. They go through such extremes into the daylight, into public, to do it. Yeah, dude, I drove home like I couldn't believe it. I also didn't want to stop. I almost want to just stay and do it forever with Alex, right? I'm like, this is the most important shit. And he does it really well. So I think that story should be done by next week. But man, everyone who's listening, like, look up Alex Rosen, ROSEN, and they do for real the Lord's work. They capture these pedophiles. Some of them who are meeting up with young girls, not women. There's a 25-year-old woman posing as a 10-year-old girl. Some of these guys, they're firefighters. The one guy we caught was a firefighter and a firearms instructor. And we just rolled up to his house, and we're like, "Yo, what's up with these messages?" Like Alex
Shane,
is,
did you ask any
legit
questions?
crazy. No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
What did you see? Only
Alex.
Describe this to me.
So their eyes shift, right? So like the moment they're exposed, there's a bit of a fear, and it's like them working out how to get out of this, right? It reminded me of lifting up rocks and catching animals in the woods, right? And like there's like a fear where they struggle, and then you make them calm. Alex is a really good way of walking them through and making like it almost plays a good cop, so we then can get confessions, right? So then there's an ease to their eyes, their face softens. And then it's like you forget, because we're there for like sometimes an hour, 2 or 3 hours talking to these people. You forget why we're even there, because we're talking about some other bullshit. But it's Alex kind of like getting their guard down to coax out a confession on film. So it goes from like that fear to the struggle to like very soft, very calm.
So wait, Shane,
and then it changes.
These guys just invite you in. That's how like off kilter they are. That dude just like come in my house and talk.
So it depends. It's different every time. The first guy I saw, we went to his house with the decoy. We let the decoy out. He puts his arm on her. They walk away, walks right past me. I'm playing like, just looking down like I'm not a part of it. And then the second we see them walk and he's touching her, like arm on the shoulder it was, I think, Alex pops out. They're filming. And then we said, we got to talk to you about the messages you left the decoy. And they're immediately exposed. So that's where like that fear sets in. The other guy, Alex set up a fake address. So we went to a real place, and this old man who's like 58 was under the impression that he was going to an 11-year-old girl's apartment in an apartment complex, and she was alone, and they've been messaging, and he talked about wanting to like bend her over and do all these crazy things. We had all the messages. And so he shows up. I'm staked out in the front, waiting for his car. I'm on the phone with Alex, being like, all right, here he is. We were expecting another car. Then it was another car. It was a whole thing. And then she's waiting in the vestibule, and he comes out. And the second he approaches her, and we can like ID him because we got pictures of him as well. We roll up, and we get right in their face, and we say, what is this about? And so, but yeah, every one of them is like fear, struggle, calmness. And then there's like a hardness to the face, because then it's like, wow, we're totally trapped. We're not getting out of this, And I don't think the guy of the two arrested, the second guy, Alex sat in the house with him for 2 hours waiting for the cops, and the guy knew the cops were coming, sitting at the computer with the child porn on it, like in some folder that he admitted to.
It's always a fat guy.
I mean, he had a huge belly. He was sitting on like a white computer, and there was roaches crawling on it. I was right outside of that house looking into the living room where it was happening, and being like, first of all, I couldn't believe the cops took 2 hours, but they did. And
that's incredible.
But what was so bizarre to me was like his wife was there and his son was there, and it was so nonchalant. Like, this dude just got caught with child porn. We just caught him going into an apartment with he thought was a 10-year-old girl, and his wife was more concerned about losing the Wi-Fi router because the cops are going to come for the computer. I'm like, you have a way bigger problem right now than that.
That sounds like a psychological defense, like some sort of mechanism that just, separate yourself from the intensity of the situation. You can choose a lower level of intensity to obsess over, something more manageable. Like one of the things I saw was this guy, he's supposedly messaging this young girl, and he's talking about letting his dog lick his dong and how she should let her dog engage on her. And I saw and the wife comes over and she's like, wait, you're doing what with the dog? And she reaches over and snatches the little dog away from him. And that is one of the parts that like the marital interactions, the paternal interactions, like one thing to be there and have adrenaline, that high. Cause I imagine like, especially when you're getting ready to like, there he is, that's definitely him. Look, there's the signal. He put his arm on her. Boom, let's go. That's enough to almost make you want to vomit. I feel like that level of adrenaline.
I was sick. Like, I don't know how Alex does it all the time, and sometimes multiple times in a day. Wow. His team is really good. I couldn't believe it, man. I was like literally like sick to my stomach listening to the messages being read out loud. And then like I kept looking at Alex while he's interrogating him, But then, I'm like, I have to look at the person because I'm writing about it. I want to, like, Todd, you asked about the face. I also want to know what the face is. So, like, when they're answering questions about some of the most heinous shit, he's looking me right in the eyes. I'm right there. And he's like, it could, and it's literally all these people hit it so well for so long, the most depraved stuff. It could be literally anybody. And I had some people hit me up being like, oh, well, he's only getting like the dumb, like retarded old guys. I'm like, no, we got a 23-year-old who's a firearms instructor, who's a firefighter, who just got married in July, who just bought a house, and we put him in a cop car, and I have his mugshot on my phone now. There's other guys who are like high up in IT. Yeah, I should. Fuck that. No, that's how you invite. That's how you invite demons, yo. I don't want that guy anywhere near me.
Shane, one of the things that you were describing, though, you're going into this description of their face, right?
Wow.
And based off of what you're talking about, I'm getting the sense that, like, you could see the levels, like the stages rather, of like the fear, the scramble, the sort of acceptance. Maybe there's a bit of bargaining, right? What are the stages of grief? But then, like, is there a stage where they drop the facade and like you see them as an entirely different person than any of the stages they went through? Because that's what I feel like is like once they know they're not getting out of it, and also like Alex is just willing to talk like a regular dude with them, there's no reason for them to, they're screwed, every which way to Sunday. And so now the mask comes off.
Yes, Alex has been doing this since 2019. So he's got this down to like a scientific method of the good cop he plays, right? Where he confronts them with the serious issue, and like some of them like they'll buckle in the knees, they like it's like they've been exposed, right? Oh my God. And then they get softened up because he walks them through really beautifully, like I'm just here to help you, man. I'm not the cops. I don't have handcuffs on me. I think you can get help. I don't think he believes that, but I know he doesn't believe that, but he's like, I'm going to do whatever I can to make this person get their defenses down. So like you'll see in the very beginning when the questions are starting with Alex, they'll say, oh yeah, no, the oldest I've ever seen of child porn was like 13, 14, they'll say, and then Alex will small talk, gets their guard down more, circles back to that question again, the age lowers, right? Then it happens with how much do you have on your computer or on your phone? Oh, none. And then 20 minutes later, oh, 1 or 2. 20 minutes after that, 2 to 4, who knows, And he knows because he's done it so long, they're always full of shit. If there's one, there's probably way more. And they're making, because they know it's not good, they're making it sound not as bad. So he kind of coaxes it out of them. So yeah, by the end, for I think everyone we talk to, they're being pretty open about it. And it's like, the last guy knew it was a problem. He was ashamed of it. The other guys didn't seem that ashamed of it, but they all will start talking about like, it's hard to even talk about honestly, but like infants, and like crazy fucked up shit. And there was one guy he had, this is before I was there, way before. They had a guy who the cops ended up telling him that he was a young man and he was willing to rape an infant and then cut it to pieces. Like it is just the most. Dude, it's
Holy
like the darkest shit. It's so fucking dark. Like on one hand, I know it is Nephilim shit. That's exactly right. It's like I don't even want to write this. I don't even want to write the story, but it's like honestly, I think it's the most important story in the world. I'm not saying mine. I'm saying what Alex is doing needs to be like amplified across every fucking medium and be like support that dude because he's got the balls. And like it reminded me like, okay, some form of cops is okay because like they can at least take this person off the streets because we can't do it. And then maybe we could take it back somehow and we could take him out back. But like the laws in places like Ohio where I was, they make it really tough to apprehend these guys. So that's why Alex takes as long as he does to get the confession, to tell them I can help you delete it off your phone if you just admit to having it and we have it on camera. And then the cops come. And then it's like, Alex then switches it. He's like, oh, hey, officer, Harold was just telling me he's never going to do it again, but he's got it on his phone. He's going to delete it, okay? And then the second the cops start asking, it's like, well, if he starts lying, we have it all right here. And he also gets passwords from people, swear to God. Like, I saw him get passwords.
Wow.
Twice. It's really, I've never seen anything like it in my whole life, dude. It was so intense. And
I think your story is super important. And like one of the reasons why I'd say that it's super important is because, I've made t-shirts about like, wood chipper and all that stuff, but it's kind of like a thing that people say because we just can't, until you're describing it right now, it's hard for me to really understand that. like what that
Oh, me too.
person in their
I know.
brain. But like as you're describing it, and I'm sure as you're going to write it out, it's going to paint a disturbing picture that people really should like look at, because like
Yes.
like you know, we say pedophilia and it's just kind of like a passing thing. Oh, it's not. I mean, it's
Yeah.
awful, but you just don't understand how bad it is.
Yeah, the problem I'm going to run into while writing it, I can already sense, is like how graphic I want to get by describing certain things that were said. But I'm going to have to get graphic because I want people to like be completely disgusted, right? I want them to be like, I don't even want to finish reading some of this, right? Because that's how I felt. I had to hear it. He broadcast it to everybody. And I'm not going to share everything I saw because that would be a story that would take 72 hours to read, which some people who don't like me might say that's how all my stories are, which is fair. Fair enough.
I like you, but yes, it's true.
These stories are really long. I'm like, well, shut the fuck up. I don't care. I don't care, and it will be in depth, and it will be. It'll have to be graphic to a point where it's like you need to understand what these people are, what they're thinking, and how they're operating in this reality, and how they're hiding it, and what they're messaging to people, like what you should be looking for in your kids, like in
Pattern
Roblox.
recognition. Yeah, dude, Roblox is my kid does not. We don't play Roblox at all. There's no Roblox.
No, they can't talk to anybody online. And how what these people do, they walk through this weird anti-logic to like, I just want to be their friends. I just showed up to see if she was real. I just, they have all these weird loopholes in their brain to make it sound like it makes sense, but it like makes zero sense. It's evil, right? So yeah, I'm excited for that story to come out, and hopefully people read it, and hopefully people support Alex. I'd love to see him get all the support. I think he does it full time. That's all he does, and he's got the sweet team, and they kill it. I wish there was an army of him, but yeah, that shit. I was thinking, actually, I thought of you guys while I was with the guy in the orange shirt. I just saw that picture I posted of we're like talking to the old man in the orange hoodie, and that whole time we're standing outside and outside that apartment complex, someone's smoke detector was going off. So there you go.
Wow.
Great. Yeah.
Well,
that crazy.
so I know what type of neighborhood you were in. Say no more.
I think we need a palate cleanse. I think we need to.
Yeah, guys. Here's a good palate cleanse. Listen, if you want to look really young, okay. No shave co. Minimize ingrown hairs. Shit. David, if you could pull up that ad read, razor burns and irritation with our 100% recyclable plastic-free razors. These guys are our advertisers on Tower Gang. I love their product. I'm not joking. They gave me razors. They're freaking tremendous. Go ahead, read his ad read, man.
I got to get them to send me some because I'm looking for good razors. But today's episode is brought to you by Nadeau Shave Co. That is NADEAU. Big Shave has been psyoping the American people for decades. Woke companies like Gillette and Harry's try their hardest to convince us that using plastic multi-blade cartridge razors is the best way to shave, which is wild, right? Because it's like they just keep adding razor blades. It's got 4, it's got 5. You don't need expensive replacement cartridges. You only need one stainless steel blade. Whether you're shaving your entire face or just edging up your beard, or our single blades provide a barber-grade shave for a fraction of the price. Our standard issue includes one traditional safety razor and a box of 100 stainless steel razor blades. They're plastic-free, 100% recyclable, and $75 allows you to shave for an entire year, which is a significantly better deal than you're going to get from Gillette. And for those of you who like to use a brand new blade for each shave, sign up for our Quarter Shave Club. Members receive a major discount and pay 25 cents a shave. Take down Big Shave and visit NadeauShaveCo.com. That's NADEAU shaveco.com to get yourself our traditional safety razors. Oh, and they're also incorporated in Delaware so that we don't have to worry about taxes, which is pretty sweet. And at checkout, you're going to want to use code Nephilim for 15% off. That's NEFHILIM for 15% off at checkout.
Spelled it wrong. That's fine. Use that.
Did I fuck that up?
I don't know. Whatever they say. But type in Nephilim if it works. Whatever. It just it does remind me. Like as you're saying that, it's like all these people that are in power that are pedophiles, but the demon aspect to it really makes me a little bit more interested, because it's like, so you're saying, like, you kept saying, like, we're stuck here. You'll see it go across the guy's face. We're stuck. We, as in, like, there's something else. Why wouldn't that demon just bounce? Like, I was just trying to do oval shit. Like, why stick around? Are you that bonded to this person? And even a family member talking about Wi-Fi. Like, what?
Yeah,
That's like,
I really think the demon, once it gains possession of your form, it's a symbiosis where you can't live without each other. Like when I'm watching two of these guys, like when it gets really serious and there's no turning back, and we've been there for like an hour. Both of the guys, the first two guys had weird physical reactions. Like the first guy shit in front of us.
yeah,
Wild. That was the demon trying to escape. That's what that was. Oh, we lost Shane for a second. The demon just fucking cut out his live.
yeah, it is. Wow, I hope he comes back, because that's such an interesting, like,
You know
like
what's
shitting.
crazy? I wonder if Alex has ever gotten into like a physical. You would think like it's going to come to blows every time that you fucking confront a pedophile, because they're going to kick in their ride, and you know they're going to want to get out of this any which way, and like maybe it's because I don't know if you've seen Alex, but Alex is a giant man. Shane is back, thank God. We thought the demons cut the stream.
Did, but yes.
Man, you sounded crazy. Hold on.
We're getting a feedback.
Crazy feedback.
Loop.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You want me to
All
come
right.
back? How's that?
No,
Is
you're
that
good
better?
now. You're good now.
Okay. And then the second guy almost collapsed in front of us outside, saying his heart was messed up. And then I was like,
Those are the
these
same
are the
dudes. Like
demons.
one shits himself and the other one collapses.
Different, yeah. The other guy almost collapsed. And that was, I thought that is the demon inside doing something, but it can't leave, right? It's there. It's stuck.
Probably like
I
just
really
bounced
do believe
around
that.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, almost like when you trap an animal, right? In that first few the first few moments, it's like it's freaking out, shaking. Because then when we got the 23-year-old guy, he didn't have that physical thing going on. And then for me, I'm so at that point locked into the demon narrative with this. I'm thinking like maybe the demon is him, and him is so new, and they don't have that bond yet, right? Who knows though? Because he didn't have that physical thing going on. I was waiting for it. And if you watch a lot of other Alex's videos, it happens quite frequently, especially with the older guys. There's one of the most fucked up videos is a guy he confronts in Iowa, and they know going in. Alex knows going in that this guy's molested his daughter and was about to sell porn, or has sold porn of his 6-year-old daughter, and was inviting someone over to partake in that. And that was insane. That one was like the hardest one to watch. And that guy had a stroke beforehand, right? Like 2 months prior to Alex seeing him. And he kept saying the stroke is when this happened, when I started being attracted to my daughter. But then with Alex, like the more he goes through it, it's like it wasn't a stroke. We find out this has been going on for a long time, well before the stroke. And so I think something happens with these people where something is opened in their like some type of vessel is open in them, inviting these demons in, whether it's doing evil deeds, whether it's drugs like meth or something, who knows, but something's been invited in, and these people can't get rid of it. And that also connects back with what I'm saying with they can't be rehabilitated. There's no coming back from that. You can tell me until you're blue in the face that you think someone's been rehabilitated when it comes to that stuff. I'll never fucking believe you. I will never fucking believe you. Ever. So they need to just go away for good,
Let me ask
whether
you this,
it's
Shane.
alive in a building or not. Yeah.
That's what, so like jail is not, I was always
Right.
like wood chipper, right? Feet first. Haha.
Right.
But the more you're talking, the more it seems like it's not like jail. Not jail.
Right.
Like it has to be a psycho ward, right? Like
Yes.
all the shit that we've closed down. Now, the question I got to ask you is, you're saying like this spirit of Lilith is running amok, even though like the spirit of Lilith is actually way better than this shit. But this is running amok in society today. Do you think that this has always been the case with human beings as far as it being as widespread? or do you think that there's an increase now? As if like everybody knows that we've opened up the Hadron Collider and there's fucking portals opened. Like, do you think this is just more common, or are we just seeing more of it now?
I think it's probably, unfortunately, always been common. I think it's some defect with the demons and humans that has been going on for a while. But I think the internet has accelerated the way for these demons to gain possession of it and reach out to victims. But I was thinking about this while watching Alex do his thing. The internet has also weaponized, Alex has weaponized the internet against them. So it's kind of going back to destroy them. Hopefully, there's only one Alex though, but I think the internet has definitely accelerated their ability to do it. And maybe it's opened up more portals for these demons to get into these people. But unfortunately, this is just something that humans have always done. There's always been serial killers. There's always been monsters. There's always been this shit. And there's just more of us now, and there's more ways of doing it.
You know what, Shane? I do kind of feel like I wouldn't be surprised if it was more prolific now, though, because of things like, how long ago was it that Netflix did Cuties? Remember that weird shit? And they got a lot of pushback for that. Now, Cuties is an extreme example, but there are several degrees lower than that, right? And we're just talking about the things that media kind of pushes. The sexualization of children is something that you don't have to. There's constantly these shows all about, they're geared towards women predominantly, all about like the sexual lives of teenagers, and they're played by adults. It's like adult actors, but it's like constantly, why the fuck are we going down this path? Why are we doing this all the time? And I think that there is a lot of stuff from media to fashion that contributes a lot of this slow acceptance of that kind of shit. And I think that emboldens some of these characters, because they're no longer that far. Oh shit, we lost him again.
I'm here. I'm listening.
But they're no longer that far on the periphery.
Yeah.
It's like the inner circle is expanding, and now they're almost getting pulled into it culturally. It's almost becoming acceptable on more of a level than it used to be. So I would say that I wouldn't be surprised if it was in some ways worse.
That's a good way of putting it, of it being more culturally accepted, which like they're creating this world for it to be like an okay thing. Clearly, right? Like when you say Cuties, I was instantly reminded of a friend I no longer have because he didn't like something I said about fucking politics. But when we were still friends, I told him about Cuties. He had a young kid, a newborn kid. And I'm like, that movie's fucked up. And he was like, oh, that's just their culture. That's just France. I'm like, what, dude? Like, how do you think, how are you even trying to make this okay? This is totally insane. So it's not unique to him. There's a lot of people who see this now.
He unfriended you because of your politics?
Doesn't it make sense? Doesn't it make sense?
Interesting.
Yeah. I wrote a poem that he didn't like about Black Lives Matter and fucking COVID and lockdowns. And he called me at like midnight. He called me crying. He called me crying. And that's when I knew. I was like, this is totally done between me and this guy.
You're a hell of a writer.
Yeah, I guess so. It was that is, to me, when people get mad at my writing, I love the support. It's amazing, but there's no greater reward than people getting mad, which has been a pretty good year for that for me, honestly.
Well, 2024 is going to be even crazier. As we were talking about it before, 2024, I was telling my wife, it's ramping up to be like some of the most retarded shit you've ever seen. If you thought 2019, 2020 was stupid, 2024 into this election, I'm not looking forward to it. Like I don't even look at politics anymore. I just know it's going to be such high grade nonsense. Like, I don't even know if we'll survive it at this point. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, whatever these people are planning, not looking forward to it. We're coming up on an hour and a half. I want to respect your time, Shane. Just give me a quick synopsis. What do you see in 2024? What are you thinking?
I hope we make it. I hope we make it there. I think it's a very real possibility that they're going to try to turn off the internet, and they're going to blame it on a solar flare, and they don't want us talking. All of this, all the podcasts going on, they've done a really good job of subverting the narrative that they've had a stronghold on for so long. And look what we did to COVID, how we like undermined that narrative. Look how we undermined politics, all their election stuff. It's like if they can get rid of the internet for a little bit, they're going to be getting away with a lot more like they used to, right? So that bothers me. hitched my trailer to no horse. I have no, like, I don't care about it. I don't like any politician. Unfortunately, Trump might be the one to vote for, but I think he's highly flawed, you know, in terms of he gave us the vaccine. He started the lockdowns. There's a lot I don't agree with on him, but I'm going to vote for him because well, that's why I might vote for him. I don't, you know, people like RFK Jr. I think he says a lot of things I like, but I think he's always a liberal, and he'll always be a liberal.
Things I like, Shane, but I can't understand any of them.
There is that.
Shane, we had on Donnie Darkin, and he laid out the plot or the timeline of Donald Trump being the Antichrist convincingly. And I was like, very possibly the Antichrist. And at the end, I asked him, I said, will you vote for him again? Because I still will. I'm still, like, that's how stupid things are. But you're right. Like you just said, like, he's the worst candidate. But I'm like, I saw him in the UFC event. I was like, yeah, I guess I'd vote for him. I mean,
he's funny. He's a really funny Antichrist. You know, there is that.
Least, that's the least we can ask for. Just
I think what I would like to see with him is that he learned his fucking lesson, hopefully, and he'll surround himself with better people, and he'll be the wrecking ball that I want him to be. But I can't trust that because he still wants to be loved by all these institutions that I despise. He still wants corporate media to like him. I hate that. You know, I wish he would just stop giving a fuck. But he comes from a different world than me, in a lot of different ways, right? Obviously, I hate Nikki Haley. I hate all those other people running. It's a joke. Vivek is interesting to me. I think he's really smart. I don't think he'd be president. I think he also has done some plagiarizing with some speeches that I think is interesting. And his past is interesting. So I just...
There's a chance we're going to see a Trump Vivek ticket?
No. I don't know. Trump I could see... that would be fun, but I don't even think it's going to be that. You know, I think it'll be more like left field.
They came out together at the UFC
I know.
event. Yeah,
that was dope. That was dope. I liked it, but I don't know. I think Vivek will probably be in the administration. I thought he was going to pick Carrie Lake as a VP, but she's running for Senate now in Arizona, so that's probably not going to happen. But I don't know. It's going to be a crazy thing. They're going to try to find a way to destroy our way of communicating freely, and that's the thing that bothers me. Like when we talked about Hochul at the top of this show, what she's doing in terms of hate speech, that means nothing. How are they going to start suppressing our ways of subverting their narrative? So I hope we get there. I hope they don't try to take us out even more. But as the world descends into more war, anything's possible. And we're seeing this war fracture the left and the right. And it's just ridiculous. All I care about is this country and getting this country fucking somehow back on its feet. But we've been a revolving door of tragedy, and we can't even fix those problems, like Maui burning down, like East Palestine blowing up, like all this bullshit. Half the country's on SSRIs. We have so many problems here. I don't give a fuck about any other country other than this one. And that's all I want to see. And hopefully we get to a point where we can even address that.
Wow. Is there any more to say after that? I mean, this guy just dropped if you had a microphone, just like, that's it, man. You fucking nailed it. Shane, thank you for coming on the show. You was doing No Way Jose with us last time. We love you, and I look forward to your piece coming out.
Thanks, man. I love you guys. I'm stoked for what you guys are doing. I think I meant to say this to you a while back. I'll say it now on the show. I think a lot in terms of rap, and when I think of Tower Gang, I think of like Wu-Tang, right? But then I saw you guys happen. I was like, it's like Method Man and Redman doing something. And that shit is like, that shit's amazing to me. So you're putting out bangers, and it's dope. And I'm happy for you guys.
Thank you, dude. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Maybe if the internet gets shut down, we'll cross paths while we're screaming on bullhorns about Nephilim shit. I mean, that's going to be the only recourse is fucking going outside and screaming into the ether like they used to do. But thank you for your time, man. To the audience, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to go to NephilimDeathSquad.com, do all that fun shit. And until next time, guys, peace.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real. If you can persuade people that what they see with their eyes is what there is to see, you got them. Because they'll laugh in the face of an explanation that portrays the bigger picture of what's happening. And they have.